the other question that pops into my head is, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but as an estimator, I'm like, man, if you're telling me now a robot's doing my job, what in the world do I do? So will I, like, as an estimator, become obsolete? Like, you're just going to replace me?
So I would actually say estimators love us. We're enabling them to put way more through than they normally would. Especially estimators that are paid on commission are actually our biggest champions.
Got it.
If you're an estimator, we're always going to need human intervention, right? Like we are decreasing the amount of time you spend on an estimate by 50%, but not by 100, right? Like you're not going to spend 0 minutes on writing this estimate.
Yeah, I mean, the invention of the bulldozer didn't make excavators become obsolete, right?
Yeah.
They just stopped digging with shovels, which sucked anyway, and now they're digging with bulldozers.
Yeah, good analogy.
Same thing here, right? It's like AI is coming, and now I bet you the estimators got to love it too. It's like I don't have to do all that scut work, set up the Xactimate project, put in the customer's name in here, do all this stuff, right? It's like all that scut work's done for me. AI isn't going to replace estimators. Estimators using AI are going to replace estimators who don't want to use it.
Yeah.
Do you think that if we
100%.
supercharge our restoration companies with AI, we'll build way more valuable companies than without?
100%. I mean, if for every reason you just said.
Welcome, everybody, to the Albi After Hours Podcast, where we talk about propelling the restoration industry forward. I'm your host, Alex Duta, and here today I have Alex Toporek with Rebuild, who's joining me to talk about some spicy topics. How's it going, man?
Great to be here. It's good.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us. Today's run was awesome. We got a run in 5 miles. You definitely got me winded and gassed with your super fast race. Pace, and then we did breakfast, sauna sesh, and now we're here in the studio.
Pretty ideal day. Now we get to talk some restoration.
Oh, absolutely. Super fun. Well, I want everyone to stay till the end. We're actually going to dive deeply into supercharging rebuild estimators with AI, right? That's the premise of today's conversation, specifically water mitigation estimators and also reconstruction estimators. But before that, I just want to, have the audience know more about you, know your founding story and such. So yeah, I mean, who are you and how did you get into restoration?
Yeah, not such a straightforward path, I would say. Originally started working at what's called a venture studio out of school. And venture studio is just a fancy way of saying VC fund meets startup incubator. So half of what we were doing was investing in early stage startups, and half of what we were doing was building these things from the ground up. Kind of spent my first year split 50-50 between the two. After a year, I ditched the whole investing thing. I thought this wasn't really for me. I felt like I was giving founders advice on how to build their business without ever having done it, which felt silly for me. Feedback cycles were super long, so we would invest in a business. I wouldn't even know if it was a good investment until 5-10 years later. Wow. You don't know what's going to happen. So then I focused all of my energy on this incubation side, kind of starting these companies. And the job there was to come up with an idea for a business, build it up until the point where we needed a CEO to go run that, hire a CEO to spin out that business raises external capital, and then my job was then to start over and do that again.
Wow. What are some cool businesses you've started?
We started one business in the supply chain procurement space, which actually just raised another round, so they're doing quite well. Another business, it was kind of like the Carfax for SMBs, so helping like search funders due diligence on different companies as they were looking to buy them.
Nice.
Some in the legal tech space. It was really all over.
Got it.
And then I kind of, with my boss at the time, started what would become our vertical AI studio, which is a fancy way of saying building AI startups focused in specific industries.
Got it.
And right at that time, my dad, who owns a restoration company, came to me with a bunch of pain points around estimating in his restoration company.
What was that pain point specifically?
There were 3 big ones. First one was the dollar value that he was getting on his estimates. He felt like it was hugely variable based on who would write it. So in his case, he had one really good guy who would write really good estimates, really high dollar value. And he had some newer guys who on the same estimate would write something significantly lower value. And he felt like that was directly impacting his top line. He couldn't have his best guy write every estimate.
Of course. It's not scalable.
No, not at all. The second thing was actually the cycle times to get these things done. So especially in his case, on the reconstruction side, getting that estimate out, you might be competing with someone for that job. So getting that estimate out is bottleneck for him to get new business. And then to work on another estimate, you can't start the work until the estimate's approved. So those cycle times were big for him. Lastly was these carrier requirements. As everyone knows, they were constantly changing. He had a retiring estimator who couldn't train up some of his new guys on the different TPA policies and some of what State Farm wants to reimburse for versus Allstate. So it's kind of one of those moments where we were like, there has to be a better, scalable, standardized way. I remember we did our first on-site at his company, and they were breaking down their whole process. This is how we get the leads in the door. This is how we build an estimate. And it was one of those things where we were like, okay, like, this is prime for software. Like, software is the answer. Software is how you scale here.
Interesting.
So that's how we got here.
Before we dive into how estimating AI and software can help that, how did your dad get into restoration specifically?
Yeah, super random for him too. So he had backed a COO of a business building like cabinets and cabinetry.
Interesting.
That would actually sell to Home Depot. And that business had sold, and then that person met one of his friends who was like, hey, we're going to build a restoration company. Do you want to join? The old COO of that other company then became the CEO and called up my dad and was like, hey, you were a great partner in this other business. Do you want to partner on this business?
Nice.
So in his case, he knew nothing about restoration, just was following good people, following people that he had worked with before, and then parlayed it into restoration.
Got it. And this company went from 0 to how many locations in how much time?
They have like 7-ish locations now, and it's been like 6 years.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. So pretty fast growing company.
Pretty fast growing, yeah.
Nice. If you don't feel comfortable sharing the name of the company, that's cool. But
yeah, it's Advanced Disaster Recovery Inc.
Nice.
And Greg Boatwright is the CEO there, that my dad had backed at a different company.
Nice.
And yeah, they were our first customer.
Super cool. Awesome. So let's get into the meat and potatoes then, what everyone's here for. So how exactly do you think you can supercharge these estimators using tech? Like, what's that process? And how does it drive consistency? Because you mentioned a couple of things like consistency among estimates. You mentioned cycle times was the second one, and then you mentioned carrier compliance. So how does software fit into this puzzle?
Yeah. I think what we're learning more and more is that everybody has their own flavor of estimating. So like if you were to take scope notes for a job and plug it into ChatGPT and say like, write me an Xactimate compliant estimate, it wouldn't do it how you want it.
Could it do it though? Has it gotten to the point where it knows Xactimate and it'll spit out the line items?
It'll give you the line item names. It'll get the codes wrong every time. So it won't get the right codes, and it won't know the like proper codes for the maximum reimbursement. But it'll give you the line item names.
So you're telling me step one, if somebody listening here wants to supercharge their estimators, just go get a ChatGPT Pro license.
Yeah, you probably don't even need Pro. Just plug it in a ChatGPT, plug in a scope note, say, how would I write an Xactimate compliant reconstruction estimate based on the scope note? It'll tell you the line items. It'll tell you bare bones. You might not get the maximum value. You'll have to then find those codes in Xactimate. They'll probably be wrong. But step one, brand new estimator, that could be a good start.
Could you create like a custom GPT maybe too, as like and train it a little bit?
Yeah, and so you could kind of think about that as what we do. So what we're doing is we are customizing our instances of rebuild to each customer to how these guys like to document. So during onboarding, we ask these guys for a bunch of historical estimates, a bunch of historical scopes, and we're saying, this is how you guys like to estimate. This is what you guys like to see in every room. Here are your preferences. A key part of our software is actually this recommendations section where we talk about what we recommend you add to the room in the estimate. And a lot of what we fine tune is what we add to that recommendation section versus what we're just adding to the estimate right away. So you're not wasting time adding final cleaning to every room. If you say, I want that in every room automatically, we'll do that for you right when we get started.
Smart. So what you're saying is like phase 2 is your software. I can go in there and upload photos, notes, take sheets, whatever, and your software will literally come up with a line item by line item estimate. Yeah,
that's exactly what we do. And a lot of what we're seeing now, so we started out, we were like, okay, we're gonna do this whole estimating piece. Problem my dad had, kind of started as like this pet project for him. And everyone was like, we're super interested in this. We're like, okay, what documentation should we expect? What are you going to feed us? Some people are like, I have these handwritten scope sheets. Some people are like, I type up notes in my iPhone app and then ship them off, whatever. But what we started to realize was there's also this big problem in like standardizing the documentation, and nobody's attached to their own way. Like if you pitch someone on a better way to document, restoration contractors like 99% of the time are going to say, okay, I'll try it on a job. We'll see how it goes. So then now what we're starting to do is think about, okay, how can we standardize the documentation? Because if we can get more predictable about what's coming in, we can get more predictable about what's coming out. So if we can actually start telling these guys, hey, here's best in class documentation. And to be honest, like we didn't have a point of view on this until recently because our sample size wasn't big enough. Like my sample size started out as my dad's company. And they do handwritten tick. Like I love them, but their documentation process is no good. They do handwritten tick sheets. Sometimes I can't even read the handwriting. How's a computer supposed to read the handwriting? And so that was our data point for best-in-class documentation. As we've onboarded more and more customers, we've seen what good documentation looks like, how we can standardize it. And so that's where we're going now. Starting to release a mobile app, starting to release like core documentation features, and making sure that we guide these people through the documentation so they're not missing something on the job, because there's something hiding behind something in a picture or you don't put it in your scope note. Like we're not going to be able to see it. So we need to make sure that we're capturing that.
So I see a 1 + 1 = 3 opportunity here in between us. Albi's got the notes and the photos. We're coming up with scans actually here soon. So by the end of the year, we'll have 360 images. We can get those vectorized for you so that way your AI tool could read those. So if we integrate, essentially, we got notes, we got photos, we got dry logs, we got psychrometrics, all in the system, and our users heavily use this data. You're saying then there could be a fair claim that an Albi plus rebuild user could have way better estimates than somebody that's in a closed off system that
100%.
You can't ingest that data.
100%. And a better experience. Number one thing people complain about is double entry. So I have to put it in my CRM and I have to put it in rebuild. So if we're reading that directly, if we're reading that directly from Albi, that's a fantastic experience. By the time you get back to your desk or even minutes from when you put it in Albi, we'll have an estimate ready for you.
Yeah, I mean, not to bash Dash, but like they're closed API, right? So like you can't read any. Hey, that rhymed actually, bash Dash. But no, I love the people over at Dash. They built something super awesome, but their philosophy was always keeping everything closed off, right? Carrier compliance and stuff like that. So if I wanted to use a software solution like Dash and also bought into the idea of AI, I would essentially have to double enter that data.
Exactly.
Versus if I use something open, I believe Accelerate's open, right? Albi's open. Then the data from that system could then be supercharged by AI.
Exactly. All of our Dash customers double entry. We integrate with Accelerate and we read in the notes from there. We'll integrate with Albi. We'll read in the notes from there. Not ready yet. But yeah, much better user experience, more accurate, because if you're double entering something, you might forget to bring something over from the CRM. So way better experience.
You know who I'm surprised is closed off, and I think would be a benefit if they'd be more open? The 3D imaging providers of the world.
Yeah.
Like that digital asset, right? Like Matterport plays the whole we own the digital asset game, so you can't really do much with the Matterport asset itself. You could obviously, you probably train bots to just view the iframe. DocuSketch is also very closed off with their asset. I believe Magic Plan is too. But imagine the power of vectorizing that 3D scan and turning it to where a computer could read that.
Well, that's why we'll have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Me and you.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I think, that's a limitation, right? Because a typical estimator is, if you're looking at like a computer, the computer is doing part of the job of the estimator. They need to have access to all the tools that the estimator has access to. In an estimator's workflow, you're opening up DocuSketch and you as a human are using your eyeballs to read, the model and see what was done on the job. Well, we need to have a computer. If we want to supercharge our estimators with computers, we have to have a way for computers to be able to go in there and see the same thing.
Yeah.
But if the system is closed off to where, when something's closed API, the computer can't go and read it, then that becomes a problem. And now we have this whole double data entry problem.
Yeah.
So
we have that built today. If a customer shares a DocuSketch with us,
got it.
we have the ability to break it up into images.
Got it.
But they have to share it with us because that's obviously their information.
So they're manually copying a DocuSketch link, putting it in
Exactly.
Rebuild. You're going to that page and you're walking through and looking through those pictures essentially.
Exactly.
Interesting. Got it. Same with Matterport or no?
Not yet.
Got it.
They have a little bit of a more complicated API, but on the roadmap for sure.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, man, this is the challenge. Like anybody building tech in the industry, like build it open. Like this whole scarcity mindset of I'm going to protect the data or whatever, like that's BS, right? Like there's so much pain that our customers, the restorers, face when you keep things closed off.
Yeah, and if you truly believe in the industry and the power of restoration contractors, I think like building technology for them and contributing to that ecosystem should be more fulfilling than like actually keeping your APIs closed and keeping this gated. I mean, we were talking before, like outsource estimators, like I love them. I don't view them as competition. Like they're propelling the industry forward. Exactly. Like they are serving a need that other people have, and we are serving a different need.
Exactly.
So if you're here for the industry, you're here for the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, and like let the best product be your moat. Let the fact that you have an incredible product that changes lives be your moat. Don't let the fact that your users can't switch off or the closed off APIs be your moat, right?
Exactly.
Like that's just a losing game in general. So,
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, again, and who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong. Who knows, right? Maybe being closed off is the way, but that's just my opinion and such. So the other question that pops into my head is, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but as an estimator, I'm like, man, if you're telling me now a robot's doing my job, what in the world do I do?
Yeah.
So will I, like, as an estimator, become obsolete? Like, you're just going to replace me?
So I would actually say estimators love us.
Really?
We're enabling them to put way more through than they normally would. Especially estimators that are paid on commission are actually our biggest champions.
Got it.
If you're an estimator, we're always going to need human intervention, right? Like we are decreasing the amount of time you spend on an estimate by 50%, but not by 100, right? Like you're not going to spend 0 minutes on writing this estimate. Like we were talking earlier, you're still going to have to like put in the grade of the cabinet, like thickness of the baseboard if we didn't get that in the note. There's always going to be little fine tunings for the estimator to do, but we're going to take it 85-90% complete, and we're going to make sure you're maximizing the dollar value on that. So those estimators that are paid on commission are actually our like biggest fans. Call us every day, tell us they like different product ideas, how much value they're getting from this.
That's awesome.
So initially, I did have that worry that, like, how are we going to navigate this? How are we going to signal this to estimators? Because, like, I truly do believe we're empowering them. But we've been met with a lot of enthusiasm there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the invention of the bulldozer didn't make excavators become obsolete.
Yeah.
Right? They just stopped digging with shovels, which sucked anyway, and now they're digging with bulldozers.
Yeah, good analogy.
Same thing here, right? It's like AI is coming, and now I bet you the estimators got to love it too. It's like I don't have to do all that scut work, set up the Xactimate project, put in the customer's name in here, do all this stuff, right? It's like all that scut work's done for me. And then ultimately, I think, you know, what I love about tech enablement is the fact that the revenue per employee is going to grow, right? If one estimator could estimate, I don't know, $5 million a year of revenue without Rebuild, with Rebuild now I could do 10 million, let's say, right? And now I can go to my boss and say, yo, like I can write $10 million a year worth of work, pay me more, I become more valuable.
Exactly.
Right? So then it becomes, you know, AI isn't going to replace estimators. Estimators using AI are going to replace estimators who don't want to use it.
Yeah. The general sentiment is like you're falling behind if you're not using AI in some capacity to like further your workflow, whether that's like base case 1 that we talked about, which is like putting in a ChatGPT, speeding up that process for you. Base case 2, where it's like we're setting up the Xactimate project for you, we're putting in the line items for you. That's kind of where we're at with like enabling these guys.
Interesting. Do you, I mean, obviously you've got some venture studio experience, private equity experience. Obviously your dad owns a restoration company. Do you, and I don't know if you heard my thesis of, I believe tech-enabled restoration companies will just be way more valuable. Do you buy into that? Do you think that if we 100%. Supercharge our restoration companies with AI, we'll build way more valuable companies than without?
100%. I mean, for every reason you just said, which is like an estimator can now 10x what they're writing, and think about what you can do with 3 estimators today with what you could have done with 3 estimators 5 years ago, right? Like it's direct impact to top line, direct impact to margins.
Yep.
Directly increasing value. So 100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is it just increases the quality of life for everybody, right? Like the amount of scut work we have to do, we no longer do. And then there's this whole thing with Nick D'Urbano on our last podcast. We talked about like maybe this concept of the 90-hour work week will go away.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, even the concept of a 40-hour work week could go away, and people could work, 20 to 30 hours a week, and these AI bots could do a lot of the scut work that we're finding ourselves doing all the time, or at least not be obligated to work 40 hours to make a living. Maybe we could work 20 hours to make a living, and we then work 40 hours because we choose to.
Yeah.
So interesting, super interesting. Well, cool, man. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked? Any spicy rabbit hole we should have hopped into?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like on the documentation side, what I was talking about a little bit is like standardizing these notes, but it's like, how do you enforce that as an owner, as a PM, as an estimator? Which is like, as I was saying before, good in equals good out for us. So that's something we're still trying to tackle, which is like, how do you enforce these good notes? And I think it's like building these champions internally, showing these people the value. I think getting an estimate on site is something that no restoration contractor has previously seen before, where it's like, I'm so used to just like ballparking, this is what it's going to be. And everybody has their like contractor horror story where they came up with like a random scope, whatever. So providing like an itemized estimate while you're still on site with the customer, especially if you think it might be a cash pay job where it's like, hey, here's an estimate, here's what it's going to cost you, I'm going to put containment up here, whatever, here are the line items, and you want to put half down now. Like that is such a valuable sales tool for these people. So just different avenues we're thinking about in terms of like enforcing the use of these scopes. Like, how do we think about documentation? Where does our estimate get produced? Is that on site? Is that at home? Is that at the desk? So thinking about all those as well.
How do you make it easy? Like, I think, garbage in, garbage out, you're right. And I think the reason why most field documentation tools and job management systems fail is just it's so hard to document, right? Like the concept of a easy to use mobile app isn't the thing in restoration, for example. Nobody really invests, right? It's like, if you update the date of estimate signed and you update this date and then you check off this compliance task, then it works. But, let's blame it on the users if they didn't check those boxes off. How can we make it super easy for our users? Think about like your typical blue collar technician does not want to poke around in an app. They want to do great work and make the customer happy.
Yeah.
How can we make it super easy for them to give us that information? Have you guys tinkered around with anything there?
Yeah, definitely. And our approach there has been like keep it super slow and like only build something once it's like incredibly demanded, in the sense that like our way that people were entering stuff into rebuild up until like next week is via a website, right?
Got it.
And we need people knocking on the door telling us to build a mobile app for us to build a mobile app, because if one user says we want a mobile app, then like every other technician, as you're saying, might be like, well, I've never used one of these before. Like, this is so foreign. I don't want to do this. We've also tried to meet people where they are, right? A lot of what we saw in the early days was people dictating into Apple Notes. So we built a tool that's a voice bot that you interact with while you're on site. So it says, if you're on a mitigation job site, it says, well, what room are you in? What material are you removing? What equipment are you using? So like meeting them where they are in the documentation sense, and then making everybody else happy, because then there's a standardized scope afterwards. So after they have that conversation with the voice bot, we have a standardized scope note, estimates coming in 90 seconds. So trying to meet people where they are, but like slow rollouts until things are like incredibly demanded.
At early days of Rome Xterra, like when I got out of the ability to see every single job, before I spun up a PM team that were in-home salespeople, I had my crew chief go to jobs and try to sell the jobs, and then they would call me to get a price. And I got pretty good at, call me, ask, certain questions, how big's the loss, how many people are there, stuff like that. And I was able to, tell the crew chief, sell it for this much, and then they would sell it for this much, put it on the work off. And at Longview, one of my restoration companies, we're tinkering out with the idea of like, what if we just replicate that via like you said, like a voice bot, like call the 1-800 AI line, right? The technician calls the line and it's like, hey, okay, tell me everything about this, right? And based on these things, the AI bot will ask more questions. You gather all that information, There's no technician typing. There's none of that stuff, right? Technician just is making a phone call, which they know how to do, and then the customer gets that estimate. So,
it's
keep it simple, stupid, right?
KISS.
Yeah.
Sales and restoration is super interesting. It's like I didn't think of us as a sales enablement tool, but like we kind of are.
Yeah,
especially
100%.
for like cash pay jobs, property management jobs. It's like getting the estimate fast is a huge sales tool for these people.
100%.
But AI powered voice is huge. That's like the number one most requested thing when we talk to these people. It's like, oh, you guys do like AI estimates? Check. The next thing on my list is like, how do I do AI phone answering? How do I do anything AI voice?
Smart.
So that's what we hear a lot. We're not going to build that, but
there's others that are building that. So dude, I'm excited for the future. Next year, like one of the things. So we believe the restoration contractors have a lot of power that they're just unaware over. And we believe the way to maintain the power within the ecosystem is for the restoration contractor to control the sale.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 1 + 1 = 3 on our end. By the end of next year, you and I could work together on this. But we're already working on layering in the financing component. Albi Pay already launched, so we have the payments component. We already have the workbook, which is essentially like an estimating tool, which either integrates with Xactimator or doesn't, right? And we're going to bring that in mobile. But the idea of capture documentation, then via our integration, you spit out an estimate. It comes into the Albi app. Then you've got a contract, right? And then we're able to sign it and collect payment on it and finance it, right? And at that point, it's checkmate, because the minute a estimate is paid in full and the job is performed, it becomes cost incurred.
Mm-hmm.
You no longer have to worry about carrier guidelines, right? Like if it's not a TPA job, which 80 to 90% of the work is not TPA, and you get that job and you get, a signed contract with the homeowner for $22,000 and you get paid in full via financing or whatever.
Yeah.
There's nothing, because in the insurance policy, it doesn't say you have to use Xactimate. It doesn't say you have to use this price list or whatever. All the insurance policy states is we will reimburse you for the cost that you incur because of said loss. That's one of these perils that are not excluded within this policy.
Yeah.
So like that's really where I think you and I and other people building in the ecosystem could really create this 1 + 1 = 3, because we're all hyper focused on the restoration contractor. We don't really care about the carrier, and it literally propels our industry forward.
Yeah.
We could literally get restorers to stop dealing with this bullshit of insurance claim settlement and all this stuff and be like a plumber or an HVAC person that just shows up, does great work, gets paid.
Yeah. I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like talk to me about like what next year at Albi looks like in terms of features, and like what should we be excited about in terms of like potentially integrating and building this out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the key things that kind of relate to this is so right now we're doing scans to floor plan by the end of this year. Next year we want to go scan to sketch to Xactimate file. So essentially you'll have a 3D asset, you'll have a sketch, and you'll have a project created in Xactimate, and that's where then Rebuild can come in and plop in the line items into it. And then I have a feeling like we'll be able to give you more information like dimensions and stuff like that, which you probably have not. You have a little bit of limited information.
No, yeah,
on
sketch is huge for us. People in our system, they put in like PF, ceiling, and like all that like shorthand, and once they merge it with the sketch, it'll go. But yeah, sketch is huge for us.
Yeah, so what we're building unique is there's no humans involved. So everybody else in the market is essentially like a DocuSketch or an N-Circle or whatever. It takes you 48 hours to get the sketch.
We'll get back to you tomorrow.
Exactly, because you're taking in these things, and then you've got people offshore doing these things called photogrammetry, where they're basically like comparing two photos to each other and trying to assume what the distance is. The way we're building it is there's no humans involved. So it's true technology, which is beautiful, as it's going to be very cost effective for our customers. So this year it's going to be just getting the scan and the floor plan, which then the estimator manually puts everything in. And then by the second half of next year, it'll be scanned to full Xactimate file with the asset in there with no humans involved. So that's one arm. The second arm we're working on is on the Albi Pay side. We're finishing up check scanning right now, and then we'll have finance next year. So then you'll be able to scan, have the estimate, Rebuild comes in, gives you the line items, then you'll be able to perfect that into a contract and be able to finance the customer. So that's the other track. And then we're also coming out with other stuff like Albi marketing is in play. So essentially how can we help restorers bring in more jobs? We just launched Albi AI, which are basically 3 AI bots that work on top of Albi to do common things that restorers don't like. So But yeah, I mean, we spend $4.5 to $5 million a year in research and development to literally propel the restoration industry forward. So.
And on that floor plan, what will you get on the floor plan? Will you get dimensions on that?
Yeah, so it's a floor plan drawn to scale with, one dimension that you'll get. So then you could essentially import that as like V1 will be you import it as an underlay and then you sketch on top of it an Xactimate. V2 will be you'll literally have the Xactimate sketch. So you won't need to sketch it out whatsoever.
I wonder if we could use that for dimensions, that floor plan.
You should be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I don't want to promise anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and then what I want to do too is like I want to vectorize the 360 images, right? And get you things that the AI could read, right? Because if you don't have that 360 asset to where a robot or an AI bot could actually go through and look over all those things, your estimate's going to be very limited. You're getting very limited information from your users, right? And you have handwritten notes and stuff. But if you actually can literally have an AI bot walk through that 3D asset and see everything, see that, hey, that's drywall and there's an outlet there and that's cove base, it'll just make everything so much more powerful.
Yeah. So, our model initially, and all credit to my dad and his company on this, but we got a bunch of data at the beginning. So our model initially was trained on 500,000 images.
Wow.
If you asked ChatGPT to identify a flood cut, it wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about.
Exactly. That's great.
So we just have hundreds of thousands of flood cuts that we train this thing on.
That's awesome.
So all the images are helpful for us. It's giving it that context.
That's great. Yeah, and then our vow is that we're always going to build an open ecosystem. So partners like you guys will always have access to an open API, and it's pretty deep. Like, not just you can just push a project in or whatever. Like, we're going deep and opening everything up from scheduling events to file manager to workbook to everything. It'll be there. So,
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped. It's the next couple of years are going to be a new frontier within restoration. It's going to be the tech-enabled restoration era.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are going to be building very valuable companies. I think that, the average technician and the average restoration employee is going to be worth so much more. Like, that's what excites me the most. Like, the owners are going to be millionaires regardless, right? Like, whether your business is worth 8 million or 60 million, who gives a fuck, right? Pardon my French, but it's literally 8 figures, life-changing money. But what's exciting right now is as we're tech enabling these companies, restoration companies could be more like software companies. And, being a tech employee is super exciting, right?
Yeah.
You got the ping pong table in the office. You got all these benefits. You get equity, right? Most amount of millionaires that were created in tech weren't necessarily founders, right? They were, the head of product or the head of engineering or whatever. Like, you could literally do that within restoration now that restoration is becoming more tech forward and tech enabled. Yeah. So the next 5 to 10 years are just going to be bananas.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
And it keeps incentives aligned too. It becomes less of like a clock in, clock out job and more of like I have stake in this game. I want to build this business. And like feeling like part of something, feeling that sense of belonging is like, that's what's part of what's so thrilling about a software company, right? Like giving the blue collar worker like that same feeling, that same sense of belonging. I think super, super powerful. I mean, I've been at this 2 years from like initial kernel of like an idea with my dad's company up until now. Really like a year of like dedicated hard work, like since I spun out of that venture studio. And even since then I've seen like the rapid transformation of technology in this space. Like I remember my first RIA almost 3 years ago now, coming up on our third RIA, and like the demos that we're seeing now and like the demos that we're seeing online, the different webinars that we're going to for different companies releasing new features. It's like, it's just an exciting time in terms of like what's being released here. Yeah.
It's never been a better time to build within tech than now.
You've seen it longer than I have. So
yeah, exactly. So cool, man. Well, if somebody wants to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah. Reach out to me. First of all, our website is the best place to book a demo. So go on our website, book a demo. You'll see my calendar right there. You can grab time with me directly, and I'll show you around the product. Otherwise, feel free to shoot me an email, alex@rebuild.work, and we can always find time there as well.
Great. We'll have Joe throw all that in the show notes too, so
cool.
That they can find you there. Awesome, man. Dude, I'm pumped. This was great. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us. And
thanks for having me.
I'm excited. Yeah. 2026 is going to be a 1 + 1 = 3 100%. Opportunity for both of us. So, awesome, man. Cool.
I'm pumped.